Dear friend,
Let's discover more of who we are together.
love, Haley and Amanda. Hello.
Hello, dear friends.
Do we have an episode for you this week?
Do we have an episode for us this week?
I know, honestly, we keep saying after we finished recording it, we can't wait to go back and listen to it again.
I know. So can we hurry up and do this and edit it?
So if you have a bookmarker, put your bookmarker on this episode, this one you want to come back to. We have the one, the only, Bonnie Davis. Now, Bonnie Davis came into our lives.
It was pretty random. I used to be a teacher, and one of my parents in the neighborhood bought me a massage from this local woman.
She works out of her home with massage and other therapies.
But they really talked her up, and I was just like, I like massages, so I'll try it. And I went, and the world exploded.
And Haley called me right after, and she goes, listen, we're about to collide with this woman, Bonnie. You need to go get a massage with her ASAP.
And didn't you go like the next day or something?
Yeah, it was the same week.
And the same thing happened, major explosion.
And we both kind of created separate friendships with her just from going to massage and then hanging out with her and then together, obviously. But she's just a very special person to us. You know how when there's certain people that you meet and you don't know why that connection is there, what's drawing you to each other, but it is strong and evident and you can't deny it. That's what we had going on with Bonnie.
She says, I can't remember exactly what she says, but it's the best verbiage. It's like she says, we came in the same soul group or something.
Yes.
Like we came all together on this planet. Like we were meant for each other. We're grouped and we were going to find each other no matter what.
And so she's not only just an incredibly awesome person, but she's incredibly knowledgeable about breath work. Breath work is something that she's been trying to get Haley and I to do with her, and we've been kind of preparing ourselves for it, and we're starting with her. But she is certified, and she has been working in her education and breath work, and she's a certified
biodynamic. I want to say in biodynamic breath work. And she talks in the episode all about the people that she's studied under and that she has gained the certification from. It is another level of healing and an elevation of how we should be living our lives and moving through the world and the trauma that we've been through and we're all carrying with us, whether we think we are or not. So
beyond her credentials, though, her own experiences with breath work are kind of what drew her to it. And you're going to love this episode because it's not just her energy and presence is so incredibly peaceful, but also she gives really tangible step-by-step things that we can do to get started on our breathwork journeys and how important breathing is.
Something that seems so obvious, but we don't really pay attention to.
But the coolest part was the very beginning.
I was just about to say that.
That beginning of the recording, she was like, let's do a tarot reading.
And we were like, for which one of us, though?
And she was like, the podcast. And it was so spot on.
You guys just wait and hear. And if you're not in or believe in tarot cards or whatever, that's fine. But just read how on point it is with our mission behind talking to you guys every week.
So we're going to jump in with Bonnie Davis, but before we do, let's do our pledge.
Oh.
Hand over our hearts.
Can't forget that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Mates in America, and rarely in public is where we stand, one friendship, under God, indivisible, live purdy, and just us
for all.
And Bonnie Davis.
And Bonnie.
And remember, guys, the whole thing about this podcast is that hopefully when you sit down with us as you're listening to this, or on your walk, or in your car, or wherever you are, that it is a conversation with a dear friend that you're sitting in on that makes you leave revitalized and realigned to who you are and who you want to be. And you go out back into the world and keep ripple affecting out there all the goodness. And Bonnie's going to give it to you.
So take a deep breath and soak it all in.
All right, here's Bonnie Davis. What kind of sage is this that you gave us?
This is Dragon's Blood Sage, very potent, very cleansing. It's my favorite.
Why, for people who don't understand sage or know anything about it, what is the importance of it? Like, why do people use it?
People use it to bless the body, to bless the space that we're in, for many different reasons. It's antimicrobial. It has many different uses, and it just sets a nice ambiance, a nice smell. It has a nice smell, and it clears the energy. Helps to set the intention.
And we're actually going to start the interview today with Bonnie doing a tarot reading, and it's not a reading for us individually. It's
for our podcast.
I know.
And for where it's headed and what it means to us and the energy around it. So,
and even today's conversation.
Yes, all of that. We'll see what the cards have to say. This is a new deck. This is the White Light Oracle deck. Enter the Luminous Heart of the Sacred by Alana Fairchild. Beautiful deck.
It is beautiful.
beautiful deck.
And we'll let these lovely ladies pick a card.
Should we each pick one or pick one together?
Pick one together.
Hands together. Do you feel okay? Right here.
Wow.
Wow.
Vulva, I don't even know how to say this. Vulva of Cedar. Card number 30. It's a beautiful card.
Vulva. Isn't that like part of your vagina?
It's not vulva. It's vul.
Oh.
Volva. So
okay.
let's...
I was like, wow.
Let me just...
Feminine energy.
Let's consult the book. Number 30.
It is a beautiful card.
Yes, this is a nice deck. I'm just now beginning to become comfortable with it. I'll just read the little blurb.
Okay.
Your inner spiritual power can heal circumstances in your life and our world in ways greater than you realize. Journey within to gain clarity and conscious redirection of your inner energies toward what you wish to manifest. Do not try to control what is happening. Yeah, good luck with that. I think we all learned about control the past 18 months, as in we have no control. Instead, work to bring positive influence to bear. To that, you may contribute constructively towards shaping the outcome for the greater good.
Oh,
Ooh,
my
wow.
gosh.
That is perfect, because
But
that
do you
was
know-
my intention.
That was that's
It's
literally
like the
our
why
whole heart
behind
for
the-
this whole podcast.
Yes, I think I know you guys' hearts very much. And yes, I would say yes to all of that.
Man,
Oh.
the vulva is spot on. That's special, Bonnie.
I know.
Oh, that was a fun way to start.
I know.
I love that.
Yeah, we should start all of them with a
Well,
card
and
reading.
About like the inner intentions and how it when you don't even realize it, it can cause something for the greater good just because you're trying to be your best aligned self. I mean, that is really on point with what we are trying to do. And the Young Pueblo quote that we usually read at the beginning about how these conversations with dear friends, they make us go out into the world and be better. And that's what we know 100% this conversation's going to do.
Everything is intention.
Yeah.
That's where the energy comes from our intention. Yeah.
Well, so today you're going to talk about breath work because you have become certified in breath work. But before we get into that, we'd love to hear a little bit about your story.
Okay, well, you ladies know that I don't do interviews usually, but I'm making an exception here. My story is very long and has taken many winding paths, but two things that have been consistent is that I have been working two parallel paths, a path of spiritual seeking and a path of self-healing. And those paths have crossed and merged and have brought me to where I am today. That's what also brought me to breath work, and that's what brought me to the divine.
And to us.
And to you, my angels.
You're our angel.
Oh gosh. So before we get into breath work, can you kind of like what you did with the sage, can you kind of give everyone a brief overview of what breath work even is and why it's important?
Okay, well, that's fairly simple because it's been my experience personally and working with people that none of us know how to breathe deeply. We are totally dependent on our autonomic nervous system, which breathes us. We do not breathe. Our system breathes us, which just pretty much tells you what a miracle this body is because we don't have to think about breathing. We breathe. We don't have to think to make our heart pump. Our heart beats. We don't have to think about our kidneys filtering out waste. Our kidneys just know to do that. We are walking miracles.
It's
okay.
Crazy.
So we can start there.
Yes.
We don't know how to breathe. Therefore, we are depriving ourselves from our life force energy. Oxygen, sunshine, the foods we eat, those give us the ability to live. And if we're not breathing deeply, we're depriving ourselves of life force energy. We are lacking motivation. We feel tired. We feel depressed.
And we also, which I've learned from you, we hold any like past trauma or stress or anything. If we're not intentionally breathing, that just stays in our bodies too, and we carry all that around.
Oh, yes. The first thing that happens in trauma, and who has not been traumatized in this lifetime, everybody's been traumatized. If it's not a major trauma, I experienced several major traumas in my childhood, in my early adult years. That's why it's been 35 years of self-healing.
Yeah.
But even car accidents, surgeries, breakups, divorce, those are traumatic.
Yeah.
And yes, the first thing that we do when we're in trauma is to stop breathing so we can prepare ourselves to meet that trauma either by fighting, fleeing, or freezing. And in a lot of cases, or dissociating. There's so much involved in how we deal with trauma.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I have a question before we get more into the breath work. So you're saying like our body is a miracle because it's doing these things for us. We don't even have to think about it. So like our lungs are breathing for us. But is it just that we aren't getting enough oxygen of it because it's doing it? Like we're all breathing, but we're not deeply breathing. What is the difference between what's keeping us alive? Why is that not good enough? Why do we have to do breath work to go deeper with our breathing?
Well, most people are breathing from the upper chest, very shallow breathing. And yes, that will get us through life. But when we start incorporating more oxygen and breathing deeper, we vitalize ourselves. We revitalize ourselves from a cellular level. And once you start breathing deeply, you create an expansiveness in the body, and that allows repressed emotions that are buried deep in our cellular structure, our muscles, our tendons, our tissues in the body. The body holds everything. The type of breath work I do is an embodied breath work. There's breath work that will take you out to the outer reaches of space. Mm-hmm. And I've been out there. But for all intents and purposes, if you're dealing with trauma, mm-hmm. you have to be in the body. Yeah. And I spent a great deal of my life dissociated, and that was probably good then. But at some point, as we mature, it doesn't serve us anymore. So our defense mechanisms that created our character structure are not good for us anymore. And they may repress and suppress the negative emotions like fear, anger, rage. But they also don't allow us to feel the good emotions like compassion and empathy and love and tenderness. And
I'm like so emotional right now. I don't know what it is, but like it, first of all, it just, I don't know if it's coming across in the audio, but it just feels really good right now being with you. Mm-hmm. And just talking, I feel like this is so important. I feel like so many people do deal with the difficulties in life by disassociation or numbing. And because it's really hard to make yourself do that work and look deeply at yourself and how you handle things. And I love that this is like a physiological act for your body to help deal with those emotions. It's such an amazing thing that you've gone to learn about.
This is sacred work.
Yeah.
In any workshops I've been in person, on Zoom, one-on-one with clients, this is sacred work. I have the utmost admiration for anybody that is willing to meet themselves in their worst pain where they are. It's hard.
It's hard.
And you're going to cry, and you might scream, and you might pound the floor or the table or lash out or kick. And we do those things when we're breathing because we've inhibited all of that, usually as children who didn't have the ability to hit back or talk back or defend themselves in any way.
When do you think, like, as humanity, this is a bigger question. Well, because you're saying that we know how to breathe, but we're breathing from our upper chest, which is kind of just us more or less staying alive, buzzing around, not dealing with stuff on a very surface level. But if these bodies of ours are miracles and they really know what to do, I feel like as humanity, there must have been some sort of shift, where people are like, as a whole, we have decided and our bodies have evolved or devolved to this shallow place. And now I feel like there's some kind of awakening sort of happening where people are trying to go deeper again.
It's very interesting that you say that, Haley Ryan, because I've often wondered why we're not teaching children from a very young age how the body works. I remember just having basic physical education classes where they show you about, venereal disease, don't have sex, this is what you do if you get your period, and that's kind of all you learn about the body. I have a list of things. Why aren't we teaching children how to breathe? Well, children know how to breathe. You never see a child walking around with their belly sucked in trying to look all slim and trim.
They go diaphragm deep.
Children know how to breathe, but we lose that. We lose that innocence. And why aren't we teaching children from a very young age how the digestive system works, how the blood circulates in the body, how everything works together? Why aren't we teaching people what a magnificent sacred vessel we are living in.
I wanted to say something real
Me
quick.
too.
Oh, sorry. We'll have time for
Don't fight over me.
No, but I think it's really interesting. Like, I was just talking to this woman last week, and she said that because of some childhood trauma, she really will not allow herself to look at herself in the mirror. And she was just saying that it's like a learned behavior, to where if she's washing her face or in the bathroom, like she has a routine of not looking in the mirror. And which that's very sad, right? Because I was telling her how beautiful she is, and she was having shocked. Yeah, she couldn't really receive it. And she told me that she can't even look at herself in the mirror. And something that you and I and Haley have talked about all together, about especially like with women, we get this kind of restriction around our throats. Like whenever I'm talking about something that's really important, I get like it's really shallow breathing and kind of tight.
And the phrase is choked up.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is, like, recently in the past year, when I've started like getting more massages with you and going to the chiropractor regularly and things like that, I'm so much more aware of my body. And so I'm like saying all these things because it's small. Some of it's small, some of it's big, that we don't realize. We don't even notice these vessels we live in, that like I'll realize, oh, my shoulders are up and tight. Why? Okay, let me relax them. Or like I'll feel around on my abdomen and be like, oh, this is kind of tender. And you don't take time to do those things. And it's obviously very important to be aware of these physical bodies.
That's our first awakening. Because without going into great detail, but a lot of this is coming up now in the world, there are forces in the world that would have humanity unaware and asleep and sitting in front of their televisions being entertained.
Yeah.
And so you keep people asleep. And then when people start waking up, it's like, oh, wow, this body is fabulous. I'm fabulous.
Yeah.
I am way more than I was ever led to believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a sinful creature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an animal.
Yeah.
We are in one sense, but we are created for more.
Yeah.
And to your friend that hasn't been able to look in a mirror, I totally identify with that, because for many years I could not look in a mirror. And I think that stems from a lot of shaming as a child.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful book by Louise Hay called Mirror Work that helped me a great deal, and maybe you want to recommend that to your friend.
Yeah, I will. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that when you spoke about innocence, it struck a chord for me, because I think we are so pure but so brave, and as kids and children, and I think that what's happening when you said lose the innocence is that we are exposed, but we almost don't know it as kids. We are letting ourselves be exposed by creation. But as we grow up, it's like the world, what you were just touching on, the world, society tells us to protect ourselves. So it takes that vulnerability away, and we're taught to not let ourselves be exposed because there's something gonna get us, or you don't want to come across wrong or whatever. But without realizing, that's whenever our bodies and our breath start to lock up, and we're trying to just protect ourselves, but in return, like you mentioned in the beginning, we are protecting ourselves, but we're also cutting ourselves off from true connection, from handling the things that are in our bodies and letting our spirit be as free and as powerful as it can be. And you're saying that breath work
helps unlock that.
Yes. Yes. Because we are trying to get back to our core.
Yeah.
That is covered with repressed emotions, muscular tension, and defense mechanisms in the outer character structure. So we have to recognize the character structure / defense mechanisms, work through the muscular armor, which is a term from Wilhelm Reich, one of the developers of this type of breath work we'll be talking about. Well, he's the grandfather of this whole thing. And that's how I became acquainted with it 35 years ago. I was at a gym working out, and after I finished working out, I went in to change clothes, and on the bulletin board was an article, and in this article there was a term called muscular armor that just jumped out at me because I felt in my own body that my muscles were like armor protecting me, but also inhibiting me at the same time. So I started researching Wilhelm Reich, and I've been fascinated by his work ever since. He's the grandfather of the mind-body connection. Unfortunately, all his work was confiscated by the United States government, and he died in an American prison in 1957.
Really?
Yes. And there's a lot of information about Wilhelm Reich out there, so in case anybody's interested.
Yeah.
And Alexander Lowen was Wilhelm Reich's client at one time, and then he became a colleague, and he carried on Wilhelm Reich's work and discovered this type of work called bioenergetics, so working with the body and the breath. And Alexander Lowen passed away, maybe 8 years ago. He is also another fabulous person to get acquainted with. He wrote 17 books. As far as I know, maybe more. I have most of them. And then I have to give the chronology of this because this is important to me.
Yeah.
From Wilhelm Reich to Alexander Lowen, Wilhelm Reich was more scientific and very clinical. Alexander Lowen made it more accessible and understandable and showed in his books exercises to do, made it more practical. And then my breathwork teacher, I can't say enough good things about this person. His name is Gitan Tonkov, took all the work from Reich and Lowen and brought it to the people and made it accessible to everybody, and has trained so many people in this fabulous work. And to see him do it, it looks so simple because I've seen him demonstrate so many times, and I'm always amazed at how he processes things and teaches it. And just to give a little plug, this is Gitan Tonkov. His book is called Feel to Heal, Releasing Trauma Through Body Awareness and Breathwork Practice. Everything is right here that you need to know. And I have my autographed copy right here.
Woo! And that you were going to his workshops, and that's who you got certified through?
Yes. It's
Incredible.
biodynamic breathwork and trauma release. It's biodynamicbreath.com. He's doing a free breathwork session this Sunday at 10 o'clock Pacific time, which I just signed up for. And they offer online classes. There's a lot of YouTube videos about breathwork in case anybody's interested. But that is the type of breathwork I do. That's the only type I can recommend because I'm dealing with trauma.
Right.
And the people I'm working with are dealing with trauma.
Right.
I have done other kinds of breath work, but I've been out there. I need to be in here.
Yeah.
We all need to be in here. This is
Settle
where
in.
it's happening.
Yes.
Yeah. The mind is pathological. Everything is happening in the body at a cellular level.
Do you know what you were going to say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have, this is also kind of a big question. It's something that Haley and I have had many conversations over the past probably 5 years about. It seems like, and I don't know if I believe this or not, so I'm not saying this as a fact, like I'm asking, being open. It seems like humanity is, its natural instincts are kind of this protective and harsh, like take care of self, like make sure I'm safe, I'm provided for, I'm going to protect me and mine over anyone else. And which a lot of that makes sense from like an animal perspective. And it seems like it's the really hard work to go on this different path of above. You know what I'm saying? Like this path of beyond ego and soul. And do you, like, it's kind of this question we think about all the time. Like, do we tend towards good, but why is it so hard? Do we tend towards bad and we have to fight to be good? Like, what do you think about that?
Wow. That is a big question. Well, that's a big one.
Because even, like, doing this breath work and people trying to go on these journeys to become their better selves, why is it so difficult? Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I think what you're trying to say too is even when you speak about these kind of things, you talk about sort of a return to yourself, or like a coming home, or like
that children are the innocent.
Yeah, like a finding. Yeah, so that's what we always try to figure out, which I guess doesn't matter. But if we are in the beginning and, naturally this pure higher self, and then something happens that takes us away from it, and then the work is getting back to that.
We're remembering. There's nothing to get back to because we've never lost our innocence. We forgot who we came here as. And we are moving now. I think everybody's kind of feeling it from an ego base that is my, me, mine, my iPhone, iPad, I, me.
Yeah.
It's all about me, Well, I learned a long time ago that the world does not revolve around me. It's not just about me because we're all one.
Yeah.
So we're moving from ego to heart. And in moving to the heart, then we develop a greater love, the love that we came here to express for each and every other individual, because we're all one. We look different, we have different stories, but fundamentally, we are one humanity, no matter what color we are, what color hair we have, whether we're male or female, we are one family.
It's like the soul of the world. We
Yes,
all are connected.
I refer to it as the body of Christ, not the Christ people may think of hanging on a cross. I don't look at it that way. We are Christ consciousness. We are the body of Christ. We're here to shine our light in the world and to love and to take care of the earth.
Yeah.
Because we are part of the earth. We are made up of all the things the earth is made of. We are here to care for the earth, not take everything, extract as much as we can from the earth.
Doesn't feel right.
And then go to Mars.
No.
Doesn't we feel right. We are supposed to be coming back to our bodies, to our hearts, to care for this beautiful planet and each other. It's not that difficult of a concept. But conversely, there are forces that would extract everything from this planet that don't care about our souls, that only care about money and power. And I think that's fairly obvious without going into who they are or what they might be up to. It's pretty obvious. Yeah. And people are waking up.
I agree.
So for people that are feeling this sensation of waking up, hey, I'm feeling like I want to remember. I'm feeling that my muscular armor, all of that. If you were just meeting those people, what would you give them for like a step 1, step 2 easy way to get into breath work, as breath work for beginners or what have you?
I would have them come and see me because I developed a program called Befriending the Breath, which is still developing. And now I'm also working with the spine, and the cranium is calling me to that. But there isn't...
And you do it on Zoom, too. So if people aren't local, you can still meet with them about breath work.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have friends and people I work with all over the world. But it's not easy. And I think the hardest part right now is information. There's so much information out there. There's breath work. There's astral projection. There's how to ground, how to center, how to,
It is overwhelming, that whole atmosphere this like self-care and, self-growth.
Yes.
There's a lot. It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for me. I'm in the process of simplifying things, although it doesn't quite seem like it right now, because the more I try to simplify, the more source gives me to do. Like, oh, now you need to learn about this because you can help people in this way. Yeah. For instance, the raindrop technique using essential oils, and I can work with the spine because I feel like I need to do that and help people support their immune systems. Why are we not teaching people about the immune system, the most important system in our body? As simple as thumping your thymus activates T1 cells. Why do people not know that? Yeah.
Hurry. Am I too
Thump
late?
that thymus. I mean, why are we not teaching people how the lymphatic system and the immune system work together? One of the best things you can do for the lymphatic system is to breathe deeply, because we get lymphatic congestion if we're not breathing deeply. So just deep breathing gets the lymphatic system pumping, because it doesn't have a pump like the cardiovascular system. Only through movement and breath does the lymph move in our bodies. So why are we not teaching people how to do that?
Why
because,
are we not?
Because we want them to be sluggish and sick so we can sell them lots of pharmaceutical drugs and put them in hospitals. But I won't go down that road.
Although we could.
We could have another podcast about that.
Because you lent me a book called Remotely Controlled.
Yes.
And it about made me pass out.
Yes.
Because obviously we know that these things are addicting, our phones, our TV screens and everything. But yeah, it's like it puts you on hold and you're not even living your life. You're living vicariously.
Yes.
Which is sad. And your body, that's not how it was created to live.
No, it's not. We are part of nature. We are not technological beings. We're not artificial intelligence. We are human beings. But there are forces out there that would have us be addicted to technology because it serves them. Mm-hmm. And it makes us more malleable. But we are real. Yeah. We are capable of love. And as far as I know, artificial intelligence is not capable of love.
Yeah.
So you, when you walked in today, handed us a paper because Bonnie is an endless well of resources and wisdom and knowledge. And it says how to feel your feelings, which, I was about to say that, and then I just read it. It says a thing that sounds obvious, but totally isn't. And it's exactly what you're saying, what you were just saying right now. There's forces that have kind of pruned us? No. That have kind of made us...
Groomed us
to not feel our feelings and to be malleable in this other way and kind of convince us that we shouldn't have these kind of feelings or listen to them or feel them. So I wouldn't mind if we kind of went through these steps just to have kind of a tool for people that are just going to listen to this podcast and then not look at any other resource, to walk through how to really feel a feeling, because I think that there are people that, most people probably, that are afraid of this process.
Oh, terrified.
So
people are terrified of feelings.
Even me.
Yeah.
Even me.
Even me.
Well,
Okay, well, let's not do
are.
it. Never mind. Just kidding. So walk us through.
Well, yeah, because I before we do that, I was going to say that it's like when some fear or scary feeling comes up, you were saying people fight, flight, numb, disassociate, freeze. You know, we have all of these ways to kind of avoid it and not deal with it. And I think whenever I've heard different people talk, they're like, well, just like lean into the feeling. I'm like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? At first, I was like, what does that mean? And so I want to walk through this because I think a lot of people say, feel your feelings and like lean into it. And it's not really a good tool to say.
Well, emotions are part of biodynamic breathwork and trauma release, which is a 6-component. There are 6 components to it. And conscious, emotional, emoting your feelings consciously is part of it. Mm-hmm. Not being over. That's, I think, one of the fundamental reasons people are afraid of their emotions, because they feel that they will be out of control.
Yeah.
There was a time when I thought if I expressed my anger or rage at what happened to me as a child, I would destroy the world.
Yeah.
Like the world would catch on fire and then everything would disintegrate. Like that movie Carrie.
Yeah.
That's how I saw myself. Yeah. Like if I let this out, I'm going to destroy things.
Right.
Well, it was destroying me.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that makes sense.
And then through, I've had 3 different therapists in my life. Each one was for 1 year, one for child abuse issues, and then later on in life, one for relationship issues, and then even later in life, one for family issues. Mm-hmm. And as I started working with my own feelings, I forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, they're hard. Nobody wants to feel them.
Well, and you were saying that you were afraid that you would catch on fire and it would explode.
I was going to, that's where I was going. The tennis racket. So I had a therapist who suggested to get these feelings out, get a tennis racket, and then whack on the bed as hard as possible just to get those feelings out.
Yeah.
And so I went and bought a tennis racket, and I was in my bedroom wailing away on the bed. And then I turned around, my dog was behind me looking like that. Like, you know how they look at you like, gee, I wonder what she's doing. She's never done this before. And then I started laughing, and then I realized that I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
I had to breathe.
Yeah.
To get to the feelings. Their movement is part of it. Movement is involved, but whacking on my bed with a tennis racket wasn't it for me.
Well, but also, so you're saying you were afraid to go there because it would take over. But then there are people like myself who, like I told you, I had a massive panic attack, and it was like it sucked me into this vortex for months. And so there are people who are afraid of it because they have felt that uncontrol, like the uncontrolling vortex feeling. And so how do they avoid, how do you avoid going down into that vortex again, but still trying to feel the feelings? Is it breathing?
You will notice in my healing room, there is a hand drawing by one of my breathwork teachers, Prema McKeever. That's the river of life. And a big spiral with little spirals. Well, the big spiral is the trauma vortex. And that's why I do this kind of breath work, because the goal, number one, is to keep people safe. Safety, you do not want to re-traumatize people. What would be the point of that?
Yes.
One trauma is enough.
Yes.
You know, why even do that? Although there are some schools of thought that think, you know, you get people to that point, they're re-experiencing it and, you know, have an epiphany. But I don't feel like that's good to send people back to the trauma vortex. So BBTRS is based on a system of titration and pendulation where you activate the sympathetic nervous system just enough where you breathe just enough where the emotions can start arising. But before you even get to that point, you find resources, internal resources and external. My external resources, the first one that comes to mind are my crystals. Although I have many resources, the color turquoise, memory of my grandmother. But ideally, you want to find a resource in your body, some part of your body, because this is an embodied breathing method.
Yeah.
And I can say that for me, 9 times out of 10, my inner resources is my heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's my hands because I have a lot of energy in my hands. One time it was my thighs. I'm not sure where that came from, but I felt a lot of stability. So you're looking for something in your body that feels safe, that you can depend on, that you know will sustain you and support you.
That's very
So
interesting.
resources. If I had to say one thing that everybody needs to learn about is, how do you resource yourself? What do you have in your memory, in your body that you can depend on and go to when those traumas do come up, or where those triggers of past traumas come up? Or what do you have in your personal space, in your altar, and around you? We need resources, lots of resources.
Yeah.
And I tell people, make lists of your resources. I didn't know I had resources.
They're like little handrails to help you through that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a beautiful analogy. Yes.
Well, and we referenced in our last conversation about one of her therapists saying that whenever you're in a panic attack like that and you don't have a quote unquote handrail, that it's like you're parasailing with no boat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it feels.
And that's how a good way to get sucked into the trauma vortex.
And I think it's right what you're saying. Like, it's so terrifying to go back to that place, because when we were in that place the first time, there was no boat or no handrails.
No safety.
No safety. But knowing that even that safety can be inside of us and a part of our own bodies and our own memories is really powerful.
Yes.
It gives us the control back.
It makes us realize how resilient we are when we can be feeling whatever trauma, whatever unpleasant feeling we're feeling, but know we have resources inside of us that are capable of taking care and meeting that resource. I mean, meeting that whatever.
Yeah, that feeling.
And we are capable of that, of holding both in this beautiful body at one time. We can be traumatized. We can be having a bad day. We can be stressed to the max. Yes, we can. But we can also be strong and resilient within ourselves. Go to our highest self, act from there, work from the heart, know who we are.
Yeah.
We're resilient, sacred, beautiful creatures.
I love that. Oh, mine is my grandfather.
I knew.
Yeah. The person that he was, everything about him, I when I think of him, I think the world's good, and I think I'm good, and anyone can be good. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's good to have that, something to hold on to.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's walk through. Do you want one of these copies, and we'll have the other one?
Wow.
How to feel your feelings. It says, number 1, an unpleasant feeling arises.
Yes, this will happen. I have told people about breath work, and I have come back from workshops, and I walk in the office, and wow, my boss is like, wow, you look so happy. And I looked so happy. He paid for the next workshop because he saw that he saw the change in me. And I want to share this information with him because he's a good candidate, because he's had lots of traumas. But sometimes it's hard for men, as hard as it is for women to feel their feelings. It's harder for men because society has told men that it's not okay for them to be feeling creatures.
It's so true.
What a disservice this has done to the masculine.
We got to start raising our boys to be open to their feelings.
Absolutely. So, when I took the information, I said, you got to look at this, at least look at my workbook, at least look at it, at least read it. And then the next thing was, well, is crying involved? And I was like, oh yeah, you're going to cry. And it was like, oh no, well, I don't want to deal with that. And I don't want to read that. But he did. And I don't know if he cried or not, but I've seen him cry. And he's the most sensitive, kindest person ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, unpleasant feelings are going to arise.
And number 2?
Number 2 says your mind launches into whatever inner story accompanies this feeling. Quote, I'm unlovable, I'm a loser, I resent my face, just for an example. Stop. You're thinking your feelings.
Whoa. Thinking your feelings.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself how you feel.
Yeah.
I've
Because
never
we
thought
don't
of
want
it
to
like that.
feel it. So we think it, and then we get lost in the story.
Oh.
So which brings me back to the mind is pathological. We want to go up here when we need to go in here. And so the mind is going to latch on to the story to keep you distracted. And this is a big, this is a big part of this. The story is important.
Yeah.
Because you have to know what material you're working with. But there are people that have been in talk therapy for 10, 15, 20 years that are still telling the same story.
Yeah.
Conversely, I work with people that just intuitively know that telling their story is not helping them get better. It's just a rehashing of the things that happened. You're not dealing with the emotion of it, with anything in the body related to it. If you can keep yourself distracted, and a lot of people will come in and want to talk for hours about everything they did wrong and who treated them badly. And it's important to hear people out. People want to be seen. Every human being, from child to the oldest person, wants to be seen and heard, and people to know that I am alive,
And I have a story.
Yeah, and I have a story, and this is my story, and I'm going to tell you my story.
Yeah.
So it's good, to, at least in the assessment part, to hear their story, because you got to know what you're working with, because you don't want to re-traumatize people, and you have to know what their story is so as not to re-traumatize them.
Wow.
But that's a crutch for some people, is the story.
Well, okay, so it says stop. You're thinking your feelings. So the next step, redirect your mind away from these thoughts and into the sensations in your body. Mentally name them. My chest is tight. This is kind of what I was saying, where recently I've started to be like, okay, wait, my shoulders are up. Hold on. Like, because you're just walking around and, okay, your shoulders are up here, but you have no idea they are because they're just doing it. You're just doing their thing. But this is saying, stop, move away from the mind and the thoughts and go to the sensations in the body and name what's happening in the body. Yeah, why do you need to do that?
It's important to give concrete, descriptive names to these feelings. It makes them more real. Like, oh, this feeling in my stomach, it's kind of got a squishy, kind of greenish consistency that's murky and, and that brings you closer to that feeling that's coming from your body, because we're so distracted by exteroception, by what's happening in the external world, to stay safe. That's a biological function.
Yeah.
We are always scanning the environment so we're safe. So everything is coming through our head, our eyes, our ears, our nose, we're bombarded with external stimuli. What chance does the body from the inside, which is interoception, what chance does that have when the body's saying, help me, help me, help me. You're not drinking enough water. Your kidneys are drying up, or, or my womb is so sad because I couldn't have children. Or, the body is trying to get our attention, but we don't listen because the mind, which is pathological, is feeding us worthless information, telling us how inadequate we are, how this can't be true, how what society is telling us must be right because everybody's doing the same thing.
And I was going to say that also a prohibitor is that I've always thought about my feelings and my emotions as these like intangible things. They're just like air or something, like you can't see them, you can't touch them. Yeah, kind of how I think about a soul, which it's just not what the epiphany is for me recently in the past year, I would say, is that my feelings are tangible things and they're audible and they're living in my tangible body. And that if I don't get them out of my body, they will stay there and I will carry them around. And it makes it like naming them as a way of making it feel tangible and real, but also being aware of your body and letting them move, like you've, and I hope you do talk about them actually moving up through your body, how we spoke in the beginning, until they get to our throat. And I just hate the term choked up, like we choke our own emotions to stay inside and not come out because I don't know why. It's scary. It's not appropriate. I don't know. And so this has been so helpful to this point of realizing it's in my body and now I can identify that. And then there's a process through breath work and other things of actually releasing them out of your body.
I love this subject. I could just talk about this for a long time. This is not an original concept, but somebody I know has a term for emotions, and she calls them priestly advisors. And I like that. I like to think of them like that because they are telling us something that's going on with us, you know?
Yeah.
And how they arise is just fascinating because aside from feeling like I was going to set the world on fire with my feelings of rage and anger, you think they're going to go on forever. Like you could be consumed by the emotion. Emotions don't last that long. You might be feeling like really crap, like at 1 minute, and then 90 seconds later, your best friend comes in and makes you laugh. Emotions they're just like the breath. They come and go. They're like thoughts, clouds in the sky. Emotions come, emotions go. We are not supposed to hold on to them. We're supposed to let them flow. The best thing you can do with emotions is let them flow. Feel them and let them go. That's why you don't want to get stuck in the trauma vortex, because you're not letting them go. We're just stuck in the emotion, replaying it over and over and over, usually crying, sobbing hysterically, hyperventilating, something like that.
And it says, number 4, breathe into the feeling / sensation and allow it. Cry, shake, etc. if you're not like in Target
Yeah. Or you can shake
Or you
in
could do it in
Target,
Target.
like whatever.
Yeah, but you got to feel the sensation, breathe into it, allow it, cry, shake, however your body is feeling it. And the thing that I was about to say is, this is so interesting. I'm kind of making this connection as we're talking, but I've been telling you, I've been going to this holistic doctor. And one of the things that she has been helping me with is like this imbalance in my right and left brain, which is a lot of my anxiety is attributed to that imbalance. And so she was telling me that it's like I'm living like there's always a bear in the room. And my mind's like, okay, we got to make sure we're safe. Okay, wait, the bear's over there. We got to move over here. Okay, we got to make sure. Okay, wait, no, hide in that bush. No, he's coming over here. We got to go over here. And she's like, your mind is living like in this very defensive, like things are happening your way, which is crazy because I don't really feel like, oh, sorry. I didn't even see that falling.
When we recover.
And there's
There
the
you
bear.
go. There's the bear. It was in the mic.
But, we live through the bear.
Well, and I don't feel like I'm at that type of level, but the truth is she was saying a lot of my exhaustion and some of my fatigue is like from this constant state of the bear being in the room. And so the therapies that she started doing with me, it was like this HIPAA where she has these vibration gloves and she goes all over my belly and I'm holding a conduit and I listen to this binaural music that is really focusing on the right side of the brain, and she's stimulating my physical body to release serotonin in my digestive system, and I felt like I was on a high. I felt like because I connected to my body. My brain had to stop because it was being distracted, and I was focused on what my body was feeling, and I hit a high.
Yay!
And it lasted for days, this like serotonin pump through my body. So I totally, it's just a weird parallel that I'm also learning myself, but like your mind and your feelings.
Yeah.
In your body.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is wild. And
Oof.
I would like the name of your doctor because
Yeah.
I want the gloves.
Oh my
on
gosh.
The belly. Yeah.
I was like, when she finished and she took off my headphones and I go, okay, explain everything that just happened. And also I want to do that every day. She was like, okay.
That's kind of how you are with me when I'm
I
giving you
know.
a massage. What's that there? What are you feeling? What are you doing?
Very curious. Okay. So step 5, because there's 6 steps.
Step 5 says, this is right after you breathe into your feeling and allow it, cry, shake, get it out.
Can we stop there for a
Yes.
second? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Haley, but about the shaking, that leads me to want to talk about movement. When it's important in the process of getting this energy out, this emotional energy that's been stuck in the body for so long. Part of getting it out is movement. Once you start breathing, you automatically start moving because it takes movement to breathe. Your chest lifts, stuff moves, just the act of breathing. But shaking it out, getting that, and what will happen spontaneously in breath work is called tremoring. And people get put off by that. And you never want to forget to explain to somebody that could happen, because if they do it at home and they don't know, or they've had a breathwork session and then you click off Zoom, leave meeting, and then they're at home in bed shaking. And then they're like, is this supposed to happen? And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that part. Yeah. So you live and learn,
last.
Yes, it can last a long time.
What's happening?
Yeah, what's
your
going on?
body is shaking off that energy is coming up in your nervous system, and the nervous system wants to get rid of it because it's not serving you. Our body's so smart.
Do you know that anytime that I am going to throw up, I have that really bad tremor shake right before, and it's really intense, and my whole body, and then I do it, and it's like this huge release, like when I'm sick, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's almost exactly what you're saying. The body's gathering all that bad stuff to get it out of you.
Yes, it's going to purge one way or another. If it doesn't, you're just going to be stuck in here feeling like shit, basically. Yeah. So, yes, purging is not uncommon. Shaking, all of that. So movement, and then the tremoring is a byproduct of the breath work, the emotions coming up, the movement. And that's how the body releases.
Well, and I'm also going through some therapy right now with stuff I didn't know I was holding on to, and I was explaining to both of you actually that when I went and kind of found that locked door, sort of when it opened, which was scary, but I'm glad I had, my therapist to guide me through it. When it opened, I felt like it cracked open a door that we're talking about metaphorically, but it also quite literally opened a door emotionally. And for days, I would cry, but like it felt different than any cry I had felt, because I could feel the emotion coming from that specific place in my body, coming out through my throat where I normally didn't let it out. And it was like an emotional door had opened, and it was all flowing out and releasing in a very sweet way. But like, I was also like, Amanda, it's so weird. I cannot even like talk about this without just crying and crying and crying. But I'm not going to apologize because it's getting out.
I'm so proud of you.
You have made a very big realization and allowance of this exploration in both of our lives, which is why you always say we're such angels to you, but you don't understand the places, yes, that you have opened in us. Because this is a hard life. And you are such, especially going through all of the trauma that you have, and you have excelled back to this higher self, and you just, and I think it's because of all of this work you've done, obviously, that this goodness doesn't have as many barriers that we all carry around, You've allowed yourself, your vessel, to be open, unclogged it.
I am so honored by everything you just said. I really don't know what to say. I love you both so much. In the time we've known each other, I've seen you both change so much in such a good way and soften.
Well, attribute it to yourself.
I attribute everything to the divine.
Yes.
Because the divine is working through all of us. So I can't take credit for any of this. I can only be grateful for that and for you, beautiful ladies.
Well, thank you. To wrap up, we're going to finish these.
Let's do the last two steps. So people are like, okay, but we were looking for the last. Okay, so breathing into the feelings, feeling that sensation, crying, shaking, whatever you have to do, then your mind will really want to go back into thought story mode. When this happens, redirect your awareness back to your body. Take a deep breath. Take deep breaths. Keep feeling into your body. Let the feeling exist and trust that it will leave. Observe it changing. Watch it move. Notice that you have survived.
Yeah.
So your mind's going to want to take over. The pathological is want to get you safe.
Yep.
But this is when people say lean into the emotion. This is what they mean. Don't go back into story mode.
Right.
Stay in your body. Feel the feeling, because it will end and it will leave. But you have to observe it changing. Watch it move. Notice that you have survived it.
Yeah, you just have to keep breathing. You have to breathe through it.
Maybe to finish, you could let us all take a couple of deep breaths together. Could you
meant to do that in the beginning, and I forgot.
Could you guide us through a few deep, proper, delicious breaths?
Okay, well, I find it easier to get in the mood when I close my eyes. So let's just all close our eyes. And if you're listening to this or watching it, I invite you to close your eyes. So we'll begin. Take a deep, long, slow, deep breath in through your nose, deep into your belly. So in. And exhale through your mouth. Not forcing, just exhaling. Just let it go. We're going to do this 2 more times because 3 is the magic number. So breathing in through the nose. And release. And one last time, breathing in. And out. And keeping your eyes closed. When you start to open your eyes, don't reach out. Don't grasp to bring the world back to you. Slowly, slowly open your eyes and allow the beauty, the color of the world to present itself to your conscious awareness. Don't use the muscles of your eyes. Just allow the world to flow back to you as you feel ready, and then we'll meet back together. And here we are.
I love that. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for your wisdom and also for your going on the journey that you've been on, because now you can share it with others.
It's been a wild ride, but I know one thing for sure. God blessed me with both of you.
Mm.
I'm very grateful to be your friend.
Breathing. So important. I will say, like, I felt in the room a very tangible presence of, like, I don't know. It was just like a zone or something. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, just she radiates like peace and goodness. You can't, I mean, we have surface level conversations with her, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's like she immediately takes you to a very soulful place.
Yeah, and it's just like all of these things that I think you and I have been experiencing personally with like therapy work and with me, like with my holistic doctor, and then like working with Bonnie through massage, like all of it kind of connects, like the emotions and the physical stuff. It's just like our bodies are incredible.
Yeah.
And our minds and our, like, we're so complex.
Mm-hmm. And how, like, when we read The Alchemist and we were freaking out about the soul of the world and how everything's connected, it's like also we're not just connected to everything like nature and other people and stuff like that, like outside of us. Also, everything inside of us is connected with our experiences, with time in general. And it's a really beautiful and encouraging thing to know that it all really does make sense together somehow. And we do have some sort of control about the way that we live and handle ourselves in the world.
Do you know what one of my favorite things about life is?
What?
Is that feeling you get when you connect with someone. Like, like it makes the way you and I, like the first time we met, it was like, okay, we're collided. There's There's no turning back. It was kind of the same feeling with Bonnie, the same feeling with like Amy Jo Martin and her best friend Elizabeth, and like these people that you kind of collide with, and you just are like, what's going on?
And
that
it's random.
Is so like the best feeling in life. And like, I feel that with Bonnie so strong. And so like to have her on the podcast, I just hope you guys loved her. I hope when you were listening to this, you loved her and you keep coming back to this episode. We're hoping to have her back for part 10, 12, 30.
And listen, if you are local to Dallas, Texas, or the surrounding areas, you must get a massage by this woman, because
or do breath work sessions and work with Bonnie.
And if you are not local, like we mentioned on the episode, you should contact her for these breath work sessions, because they will change your life.
She's incredible. Every time I get a massage by her, I'm like, God, you have magic hands. She feels like everything I'm feeling.
Because she's so connected.
I know. She'll be like, this is it. And I'm like, you just touched me. How did you get right to the spot? Crazy. Okay. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Remember to follow us at dearfriend.podcast on Instagram. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching us. And we do these videos. We're still learning how to make them great. Woo. But we love having a following on YouTube as well. So make sure you like and subscribe to see more videos. And thank you guys again for following along on these journeys with us, these conversations that we're having, and that hopefully we all leave these conversations and go back out into the world and do some good.